In this video training, we are going to talk about the tendency to be a workaholic. Now, if you're watching this, you already know that this tendency in your life is defeating, it's not healthy, and there must be a better way. So let's start by discussing why we develop this tendency, and that can help us to begin to collapse some of those dysfunctional programs in the subconscious mind. So most of us have developed an association in our mind, at societal conditioning, that hard work equals success. So when we have that belief, and it is our sincere desire to be a successful business person, there can be a tendency to overcompensate for our insecurities or what we perceive to be a lack of success with more work. So if I'm not as successful as I want to be, or I have a state of lack, a fear-based belief that if I don't keep up this pace, I'm going to lose what I have, then you are driving yourself to do more, to work harder, to work longer, to achieve that state of success that you are aspiring to have, or to, I should say, or, because these might even be happening simultaneously, you are coming from a place of lack, and you're basically trying to maintain what you have because you're so afraid that you're going to lose the money, the success, the clients, whatever it is that you have achieved. So now, one of the things that I want you to look at with this particular programming piece is what is going on within you. What do you believe it takes to have the level of success that you want? And now it is a tricky thing. We have to be careful with lumping the money side of achievement with our feeling of success. I just recently read a study that was conducted on the correlation between the amount of money someone has and their level of happiness. And what they found was that the more money someone has, typically the happier they are. Now, there was an interesting caveat to that. So it had more to do with whether or not someone believed money was significant and important. Okay. So if someone believed that money is important, then the more money they had, the happier they were. The less money they had, the less happy they were. But they also found that when people directly correlated how much money they have with success, that even as they increased their income, they actually did not feel happier. So we have to make sure that we're starting to create some distinction in our own mind. We are conditioned by very savvy, sophisticated marketers that money and success are synonymous. And society is very good at perpetuating that. And as business people, many of us have bought into that. But what is success really? Is it purely financial accumulation, or is it a holistic approach to the happiness and the fulfillment and accomplishment of the things that are meaningful to you in your life? So if we can draw a distinction between the amount of money that you have and the feeling of success that you have, now we can allow ourselves to start to clean up some of the entangled beliefs that are causing some of these undesirable habits and tendencies, like being a workaholic. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the other common reason that people develop this tendency. So I've seen this over the many years that I've been working with my clients, and it is more common for my more successful business owners, but it does start early on. Okay. And that is a form of escapism. So, where some people might turn to TV or social media as a way of escaping their uncomfortable feelings. Some people may have even more destructive patterns than that. They may turn to drugs or alcohol or other unhealthy vices. For business owners, it is common to use work as that form of escape. So when you have a lot of unhealed emotional challenges, things from early on in your life, if you are going through challenges in your family, in your relationship with your spouse, there is a higher probability that you will turn to work as a justifiable escape mechanism. And what I've seen is that when you start to do this, it becomes a developed pattern in the subconscious mind. And many times you will bring it through your life for years, not addressing those other issues in your life. And so I will have clients who have been in business for 20 to 30 years, have developed a fair amount of success in their business because they are very committed individuals. And they're still dragging old, unresolved relationship issues into their life. They're not dealing with the problems in their marriage. They're avoiding those things by being so absorbed with their business that they really truly don't have that quality of life that they desire. And so we want to be honest with ourselves here. And I'm going to ask you to do an honest assessment. Is your tendency to overwork because you are avoiding uncomfortable feelings, things you don't want to deal with, other areas of your life that you feel out of alignment with? If that is the case, we need to work through those things, because just like when you are overcoming any other type of addiction, smoking, for instance, if you take someone who has been a 20 plus year smoker and now you remove that behavior, you remove that coping mechanism, and you do not replace it with empowering beliefs and associations, that individual has a much higher likelihood of turning to something else and having a different type of unhealthy escape mechanism. So that's why you'll see a lot of people who quit smoking and then they turn to eating and then they gain a lot of weight. It's because they're not doing the inner work to heal and work through those areas of their life that they were using that vice to get comfort from, right? It's a form of self-medicating those uncomfortable feelings. So we've covered a variety of different techniques throughout the academy, hypnosis, EFT, energy releasing work. And I'm going to encourage you to go deeper into some of these areas that you're identifying and work through those with some of these different processes so that you can ensure that you do not replace one bad habit with another bad habit. Okay. Now let's get into some of the inner work here. Okay. So we covered the two primary motivators for this type of behavior. One is we have this belief that hard work is equal to success, and we're coming from a place of lack within ourselves. So if we're not as successful as we want to be, or if we have a fear that we're going to lose what we have, then we just keep working to try to overcompensate for that feeling of lack, that feeling of scarcity, that feeling of insecurity. The other piece is as an escapism. So I'm unhappy in my relationship, I'll just spend more time working. I don't enjoy this, that, or whatever else in my life, or I don't feel comfortable being alone with myself. So I will distract the mind by always having something to do. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do with you in this next segment here is we are going to actually start to pull up some of those things and we're going to release them. They're not serving you, right? Now, I want to just encourage you when you're done with this video to do a more honest assessment of your reasons. Why are you participating in this self-destructive behavior? And now, even when I say that, does that trigger a fear? Meaning, when you consider not working so much, not working so hard, does that create a feeling of fear within you? And if so, why? Is it because you are afraid if you don't work as hard that you will not be successful? Is it that you are afraid you will not make enough money? Is it because you're afraid if you don't have work that you are going to have to be in a situation that you would prefer to avoid? Okay. So maybe we are able to take some of the negative emotional charge off of those things right now, but I am going to encourage you to continue to look more deeply at that and continue to do your inner work on the things that you uncover that are going on within your own mind. Okay. So now what I'm going to ask you to do is we want to get you into releasing mode. We want to start to take the negative emotional charge off of your beliefs, your memories, and your associations so that we can properly release and let them go and return you to more of a balanced point. Okay. We don't want to be on either end of either extreme end of the spectrum, right? Some people avoid working and are serial procrastinators. Other people are obsessive about work. We don't want to be on either of those extremes. We want to be in balance with ourselves, where we can be motivated and go-getters and get things done when it is necessary and beneficial to do so. And there is a time when we feel it's time for rest, it's time for rejuvenation, it's time for the other areas of our life so that we have true success, which is holistic, not just this two-dimensional version of success where business success equals financial success equals life success, which is just typically not the case, right? So when we're getting into releasing mode, we are going to bring ourselves more present into our physical body. I am going to encourage you to drop your head down. That disengages from the mind, brings us more present into our body so that we're more deliberate and intentional about releasing. We close the eyes And we set that intention to allow any and all feelings, any and all energy that we're experiencing that gets triggered to come up and allow it to flow through. Okay. So remember, energy is always flowing. Our natural state is releasing. When you're going through life and something happens and you feel negative emotion, under most circumstances, you're able to quickly, easily, naturally release and let it go. Something good happens, you feel joyful, you feel good for a few moments. Naturally, you release and let that go. And then you're going to return to sort of your homeostasis, your emotional set point, if you will. But now, when we have been highly triggered by something, if we have had a traumatic experience, if we have old conditioned behaviors that are lower vibrational in nature and do not serve us, when those things get triggered, we feel the energy, and our natural tendency is not to release, it's to repress. And then that stuff just keeps coming up. And we keep repressing, and it keeps coming up, and we keep repressing. And then we're compounding the negative energy and all of the neural networks, because every time we experience that, we're creating a new association with this new point in space and time. So we have to be very mindful, very deliberate, very intentional about recognizing when that old stuff gets triggered. We feel the feelings, and now with our intention, we are going to complete the releasing process, which is our natural thing to do. And when we say yes to letting those energies, those feelings come up and letting them pass through, we are actually releasing and letting go properly. And that is how we start to remove the negative emotional charge off of old beliefs, old patterns, old habits. And that's how we can begin to set ourselves free from things that have been very, very, very challenging for us in the past. Okay. So go ahead, get into releasing position. So close your eyes, drop your head down. Okay. Take a couple of nice deep cleansing breaths, because I really want you to start to feel present in your body. So be aware of your breathing. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Notice that your body is naturally breathing for you. Okay. And now I'm going to start to trigger some of these old energies, these old thoughts, old feelings, old patterns. And when you feel that energy, you might notice that there is an emotion. It might feel like anger, sadness, fear. Okay. Just say yes to that feeling, let it come up, and let it pass through. You may not have a nice label to put on the feeling. It might just feel bad. It might just feel like a constricted feeling. You don't have to have an emotional label in order to release the energy. Just recognize the energy, observe it, see it for what it is. It's just energy. Doesn't feel good. Let it come up and let it pass through. Okay. So the first thing I want you to think about here is just in a very general sense, being a workaholic, and notice what feeling comes up for you on that. And just say yes to it, let it come up, and let it pass through. It's not serving you to hold on to that old energy. There is a better way. There can be more balance. There can be more alignment. Can you give yourself permission to simply say yes to the feeling, let it come up, and let it pass through? Now, when you're releasing, sometimes you'll encounter a fear, and that fear will create resistance. When you notice the resistance is there, you have to say yes to that as well. You're trying to protect yourself by holding on to the fear. But there is always, always, always a more empowering perspective. So we need to release the fear in order to align with that higher vibrational mindset. Okay. So as you're thinking about this tendency, I want you to just notice how it is affecting your life. And when you're observing in your mind, as objectively as possible, how it's affecting your life, and likely in some adverse ways, Notice that there are feelings, there are energies that get triggered. Just say yes to them. Say yes to the feelings, yes to the energy, let it come up and let it pass through. And what might you be avoiding? Now, you may have a very clear awareness of what that is. There is a feeling associated with that. Let it come up, let it pass through. Just keep saying yes to it. Let it come up, let it pass through. If there's any resistance, say yes to the resistance. Let it come up, let it pass through. Now, maybe you don't have clarity, but you may still have a feeling. Just simply say yes to the feeling. Whatever it is, we're just observing it. Say yes to it, let it come up and let it pass through. What else might you be avoiding? So what benefit are you getting out of being a workaholic? There's some advantage, even if it seems completely irrational, completely nonsensical. Part of your mind wants to say, I don't believe that. I have all of these other reasons why I should not believe that. If it's coming up for you, it's in your subconscious mind, simply say yes to it, let it come up and let it pass through. Okay, now we're going to look at another disadvantage of this behavior. So how is it hurting you? How is it adversely affecting your life? Notice what comes up for you. Observe it. Observe the feeling. Just say yes to it. Let it come up and let it pass through. Now, what's another advantage of having this behavior? What are you getting out of it? Is it because the harder you work, the more successful you believe you can be? Is it something else? Whatever comes up for you, observe it. Be objective. It is what it is. Let it come up and let it pass through. Any feelings, any fear, just say yes to it. Let it come up, let it pass through. What's another disadvantage? Something you don't like about this behavior. Are you missing out on things? Are you burnt out? Whatever that is for you, whatever's coming up for you, observe it. Notice the feeling. Say yes to it. Let it come up and let it pass through. All energy wants to leave. Energy does not want to be stuck in your body. How old is some of this stuff? How long have you been holding some of these vibrational patterns? It's time to let it go. So can you say yes to the energy? Let it come up and let it pass through. What is something you like about being a workaholic? I know it might seem silly, but just be aware. What is something you like about it? Other people seem to respect you more because you're such a hard worker. Do you believe that there's some type of virtue in it? Do you feel like you're better than other people who are lazy or procrastinate? Just be aware. Just see it objectively. It is what it is. Just say yes to it. Let it come up. Let it pass through. Does your ego get something out of being a workaholic? Let it come up. Let it pass through. And what are you afraid of? If you let this go, what are you afraid will happen? Say yes to the energy, say yes to the fear, let it come up, let it pass through. If there's any resistance, say yes to the resistance. That's energy too. Let it come up, let it pass through. Can you say yes to the fear? Just let it pass. Right? Maybe you believe that if you don't work hard, you're going to be lazy. Say yes to it. Let it come up, let it pass through. Maybe you believe if you don't work hard, you're going to run out of money. Let it come up, let it pass through. Now, what are you afraid of if you don't change this behavior? Whatever comes up for you, just say yes to it. Let it come up. Let it pass through. Is it going to create massive problems for you in your life if you don't release and let it go? With your health, with your relationship. Just notice the fear, say yes to it. Let it come up, let it pass through. We're just seeing it objectively. It is what it is. You feel the way that you feel. You've got these beliefs, but now we're releasing and letting them go. It doesn't serve you to hold on to this negative energy. It's keeping the pattern stuck. And we're just going to release and let it go. Now, why might you be using this behavior in your life? Are you doing it to punish yourself? Do you have some guilt? Whatever's coming up for you, just say yes to it. Let it come up and let it pass through. What feelings might you be avoiding? So what are some of those uncomfortable areas of your life that you don't want to deal with? You would rather just avoid them. Just let the awarenesses come up, see it objectively. It is what it is. Say yes to it, let it come up and let it pass through. And notice if there's any wanting to hold on to this. Part of you that just does not want to let go. There's still fear there. Maybe you don't know of any other way to be. If you've been this way for so long, it's part of your self-image. Notice the feelings there. Say yes to it. Let it come up. Let it pass through. I want you to think about this. How would you prefer to be? What would it look like? What would it feel like to have more balance, to be more productive, to have adequate me time, time for family, time for friends, time for exercising, time for resting, time for other things that are meaningful to you, and to still be very productive and very successful in your business? Now, if any resistance comes up as you're thinking about this, just say yes to it. Let it come up, let it pass through. Any fear, let it come up, let it pass through. Any nagging, yeah, but it can't possibly be that way for me, thoughts or beliefs, just say yes to it. Observe it, let it come up, let it pass through. Don't save any of it for later. Let it come up, let it pass through. And then go back into, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel as I go through my workday? How do I want to feel as I'm living my life? How do I want to feel about work? How do I want to feel about non-work? And we want to start to get into that feeling. We actually want to start to feel it, see it in our mind, feel it in our body, feel it in our emotions. And so as you're doing this, if you're holding on to any conflicting beliefs, they're going to come up. Just say yes to them. Let them come up and let them pass through. How do you want to feel? What does it look like when you're an ex-workaholic? When you're a recovered workaholic? When you have balance and harmony in your life? When you feel good about yourself? When you feel good about your life? When you feel successful in your business and you have balance? Now we want to start to create new conditioning, new mental conditioning. So that is going to involve you being intentional about creating new mental and emotional associations with work. I'm going to ask you to practice feeling, visualize, imagine, picture, pretend, intend, and most importantly, feel how you want to feel as someone who has balance, work-life balance, whatever that means for you, Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that a set 9 to 5 is the right thing for you. Maybe you love working 10 hours a day, but you still are able to shut off and have intimate time with people you care about. Okay. So each of you are going to have your own unique version of what this balance is for you. And we want to start to create new associations in your subconscious mind with what that looks like and what that feels like. The more you practice feeling the way you want to feel, seeing yourself in your mind behaving in that new way, the more you do that, the more you are rewiring your subconscious to automatically start to be that way. So this is your assignment, okay? If you really truly want to change in an empowering, positive way, we've got to release and let go of all of the negative stuff. And we have to rewire, recondition the mind to now acclimate to be this new preferred way. So ask yourself throughout the day, how do I prefer to be? How does it feel to be the type of business owner I choose to be? How does it feel? What does it look like? And ask yourself those empowering questions to help your mind to start to get in touch with what that is for you. Remember that repetition is what builds all of those neural pathways. That's how we create new habits. That's how we anchor things into the subconscious mind. And what is in our subconscious programming is our self-fulfilling prophecy. It is who we are. Okay? So remember, if there is more work to do, please have that honest introspection, do your inner work, release on all of those old, unresolved up to this point beliefs and emotional issues, and cultivate the new mental program that is going to support you being that more balanced, empowered version of you.